You know.
Our favorite Asian.
Is that too loud in y'all's ears?
No, I'm good.
What?
Okay.
What were we supposed to be hearing?
He's got a couple extra minutes.
Sounds good.
You don't have any AI rap bully songs?
No. He said coming. Did you send the link? Of course I sent the link. Of course I sent it to the chat, but
That he hasn't seen yet.
yeah, I'll
No.
just text it to him.
Shit.
I saw he sent me a picture from Tractor Supply. I'm like, he's gonna be late.
He's buying more chickens. Is chicken season over?
I think so.
I mean, isn't chicken season all year round? I mean, my chickens
Well,
don't
like-
go away.
The
Well, I
hatchling,
thought Tractor Supply has it during springtime.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. If he's at Tractor Supply, is chicken season over? He's going to be on the podcast hauling chickens into his yard. Go road. Nice. 6 people on YouTube, 8 people on your page.
Warning: if you're faint of heart or easily offended, this show is not for you.
I don't give a damn about what you saying, bitch, you in the way. Closed case, my nigga beat the charges like yesterday. In your face, I'ma go hard and make sure you see the cake. Keep the pace, ain't no one fucking with me, this not a race. Doing the shit that I want, I'm never gonna stop, I'm never gonna give in. Making my way to the top, I told you to ride, I told you to get in. Now you can't eat out my pot, it's filled to the top, and I'm about to dig in. You say I was doing you wrong.
Welcome to the Go Rogue podcast. Well, we got one of 2 of our guests. That's pretty good. We're doing pretty good.
50 right there.
I think our man is on the way here shortly. I'm sure he got diverted. What's new with you, Lou? What you into, buddy?
I'm making it happen, man. Trying to get ready for this trip to Indiana.
Yeah, you're going to Indiana, and then after that, you guys are going overseas, right?
Yeah, we're going to Romania. I'm judging that show on Sunday.
Oh, okay. Doing a little judging.
They do that a lot, don't they? They do a lot of. Is it Sundays like the big day for shows internationally?
No, I think Sundays are like in Mexico and so forth. All the shows are on Sundays.
Okay.
But in Romania, there's 2 shows Saturday, 2 shows Sunday.
Oh, I got you.
So they'll split it up.
Nice. Yeah.
Let's see.
It's a different vibe out there when you go to a show.
Oh, it's way different, man. The dogs are different. The atmosphere is different. I mean, of course, there's a language barrier in some places, but
Right.
it's just the whole trip is different. Normally you used to go into a state, but going overseas, man, it's just a different vibe. As soon as you land at the airport, you feel it.
Yeah. Nice. Is it so like even like the way they so I saw someone was live during an international show, and even like the way they spectate was kind of different. Like
Yeah, there's
I
a
feel
lot
like-
of fan involvement in it.
right, I felt like everyone clapped after
Yeah.
like every decision made. Everyone clapped. There was. It seemed like a lot more fan involvement.
Yep. You could definitely
Oh,
see
shit.
it, and you can feel it,
Yeah.
The craziest
I was-
one that you see is in the Philippines, man.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, the crowd really gets involved in it.
Yeah. That's loud. Whatever that is.
What is it?
It's like
Static.
scratching. Static.
Yeah. I thought you were mixing, Roger.
I know.
I don't hear nothing. You hear something?
Oh, it's gone now.
It's gone now. Yeah.
Wonder what it was.
That right
There
there.
it is. Yep. Whatever you're moving.
My hands are up.
I don't know.
Shake your head one more time. Yep, you're good.
I don't
Sweet.
know.
Oh.
Hey, fellas.
there he
Uh-oh.
is.
All
Uh-oh.
right,
Yeah.
the man is here.
You're on time.
Let me see. See you there in Romania.
Oh shit.
And we got New
That's awesome.
Zealand checking in this evening.
What's up, New Zealand?
Feeling.
What's going on, guys? All right. So now that everyone's here, let me see. Got the comments up. So you two have been making your rounds. You've already been overseas once and come back, and now you're going back over. You're kind of working on a little project. So kind of fill us into what you guys are up to. What you got in store for us.
So basically, we're relaunching Bullypedia. So we are put some development in. We're switching it. Basically, the way I would describe it, it's more for the breeders. A more breeder experience kind of a thing. So there's a lot of functionality that we're adding to it that we always wanted to do, but now is a chance, and we actually have done it. So one of my big things. That's one of my favorite additions is you can put videos up there now.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
yeah, so you can look through the pictures, and then if there's videos in there, you're gonna be able to watch the videos as well. So that's one of my favorites.
So this is pretty much a ground up rebuild, yeah.
Correct. Yeah, the only thing that's staying in there is the data.
Great.
Oh, awesome.
Pull the data out.
Yeah. So we pulled the data out, and everything's revamped. The landing page is revamped. The technology behind it, it's a combination. Just to give you a little update on it. So the Bullypedia team really consists of me, Sam, of course, Rand, since he was the founding father of Bullypedia, and Rob Korn.
Okay.
Nice.
So it's a pretty solid team. I think everybody's got the same vision, so I can't wait to launch, man. I've been trying to keep in the bag for a while,
To be honest, it wasn't. I'm excited about it because it got to the point to where if you weren't familiar with how it went, you get lost. You would get lost.
So the only ones that I seen that the people that's been in it since day one, I mean, they can move around. I'm sure Roger can move around without no issue. Sam, myself. But if you're a new person coming in, you would absolutely get lost. And that's one of the main things we wanted to fix.
It felt almost like a more exclusive club.
That sounded good, Roger.
From me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's coming from you.
All right. Well, y'all talk for a minute. Let me figure out what's going on.
Yeah, what I love about this, the new Bullypedia is that it's more breeder friendly. Now, coming from from a breeder aspect and as a stud owner, we enable features in there that will help people to make better decisions when it comes to breeding. And and we'll talk more about that. That's the pedigree analysis. That's something different than what they're currently on the Bullypedia. And then there's another part that I really like, and it sounds pretty simple, but I think it's a night and day difference in what we currently have. So this is the follow button. You'll have landing pages for your individual dogs, for yourself as a breeder, and then for your kennel. And when somebody follows, either one of those, it pretty much opens a market, for you. And also as a stud owner, if you have a pretty popular stud and everybody's following it on Bullypedia, any of your clients that are breeding to that particular stud, they'll get notifications, saying this breeding is happening. This is the breeder, contact them, and you'll have they can join a waiting list. So this helps because if you don't have your own website, if you don't have a big following, as long as you maintain your landing page, with good information, good pictures, and you're promoting yourself on Bullypedia that way, you'll have all these people around the world that if they're following that stud and you're doing breeding to that stud, they're gonna see that's that you're gonna do that. They'll see the full pedigree. They'll have all your contact information. So it just kind of just gives you a broader audience. Just by breeding to that particular stud. And the same thing goes. As a stud owner, you want to be promoting your stud on there. You want people to follow, your dog on there, follow yourself, and this, allows you to build a market in one place without having to, worry about you being shadow banned on Facebook or Instagram, because you're a breeder. So, and this is very important because like I've lost my Instagram page before, and I did most of my business on Instagram, and to lose it, I'm like, oh shit, what am I gonna do now? And I didn't really have a good website presence. So that's how people were finding me. So that's why we wanted to make this, like have a social media aspect to it, so people can promote themselves on there all in one spot.
Yeah. And one of the other key things that we implemented too is we call it My Yard, which is basically where you manage all your dogs in your own private setting.
Oh, nice.
So you will have a login. All the dogs that you own will be listed there. That's where you update your pictures. That's where you update your videos. You can control anything that's in your yard that you own in your own little portal. So you can choose. One of the options that we put it in place as well is you can choose to go public or private.
Oh,
So if you check the box public, it goes into the main page.
right.
Everybody can see it. But if you're not 100% sure, like whatever you're considering with that dog, you can choose temporarily to make it private. If you're sitting or you're waiting for the dog to mature, you can update the pictures in it, but it's still private. You can only view it in your My Yard portion of it.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So
Yeah.
essentially, what you're looking at is a kennel management system that bigger programs have to pay for. They have their own kennel management programs.
Right.
That'll let you do that, but on top of that, in the back end, you're going to be able to do matchups as far as breedings go. I'm assuming right now, even though it's a little difficult to find, right now you can already look at what percentages a certain dog is of their ancestors. So I'm assuming that kind of matchup in the back end before you ever go public, you can do all this stuff in the back end.
Right. Yeah. That's a big part of the pedigree analysis. That's a separate tool available for a different level of service. So if you're wanting to see if somebody's done a similar breeding, want to see what the outcome is, and then how you can tweak it to make it something that caters more to your program, you can do that. And a really important part of this is we need the community on board with this, because the more dogs that are registered, people registering their dogs, the more data we have, the more data we can show you, to help you to breed better.
Now, Eric wanted to know, you're probably more than likely going to have to create a new login, I imagine, right?
Correct. We have all, so basically the way that's going to work is we're going to have all your previous information from the old BP site. So we will email a link to those websites, and you will create a login, which is basically you become a user of Bullypedia. So with you have to have at least a user account, and that allows you,
which is free. Just a user account is free, so you can see the full peds. You don't need to pay for access to that. So at the very least, you create a user account. It's free. View the entire peds, however many generations that you want, because that's not going to be locked to just the first.
Right.
What was that, three generations?
First generation.
First generation. Yeah.
So now they're going to go in. They'll basically create a new user account. They'll probably have to go in and claim all their dogs. Their dogs will already be there, right? Because you're pulling all the data from the old system. So now we're just having to link up the dogs back with their owners. But the reality of it is, like you said, when you're pulling the data out of the database from the previous, it's not like someone else can grab a dog and say it's theirs, because the ownership's still there.
Yeah, correct. They will need to prove the ownership. So this is a part where it's a little bit different from the old one, how we were just verifying the first pedigree, right, Lou? And then you can add other dogs. So all the dogs that shows up there, if we haven't verified it yet, which means the owner has to send the actual a picture of the actual pedigree with their name on it, that's the only way that they can claim it. So any dog that doesn't have it, it'll show unclaimed or set for somebody to claim it.
Right.
So we want to encourage people to, because we want the pedigrees to be a trusted source here with Bullypedia. So we have to see a copy of every single dog that is registered on here. So we can't go and make some fake pedigree and then that we can't verify. Because if you can't verify it, it's not going to be on there, or it's going to show unclaimed.
Right. Which makes perfect sense. Now what we are talking about, just to make that clear, is there are subscription levels. You can be just a basic user, clear up to the guy that has a subscription level that can do his whole yard management on the back end and kind of take control of what the public sees versus what the public doesn't see.
Right.
Absolutely.
And which, from what I'm seeing, I don't use anything else. I've always used Bullypedia, so I don't have an idea. But I'm pretty sure all of the other pedigree websites have some kind of version of that where you have to sign up or you have to pay for the service.
Right.
Of course. But the one thing is, if you are a member, you'll be able to add unlimited number of dogs.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
So it's not. I mean, we're not capping it. I mean, we're basically the subscription is yearly based. But once you're a member, you can add as many dogs as you want. They'll all be verified and then they'll be uploaded. The one thing is when a particular, so we'll just give you how the process kind of works briefly. So you log into my yard or your yard and you add a dog. You can't choose the owner because once you're logged in, you are the owner. So it keeps you from adding somebody else's dog unless it's okay for you to be the owner.
Right.
But if you're adding a dog, you should be the owner.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that adds a level of security involved in it too.
And that saves you from having to type in redundant information, as who's the breeder, who's the owner, and all that. Like it'll pre-populate at least that portion.
Yeah, and on the old one, there would be times you'd be like halfway through assigning everything, and then your computer would crap out or something would happen.
Yeah.
And then now there's two of your dog in there, one with no owner information, and then the other one, and then we'd have to email you and be like, hey, can you take that dog out of it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that prevents all that. Now, granted, there has been on the old one, there were guys like me, I could go in and set up pedigrees for anybody. I could go in and set up I could also do worse, but thank God that's getting fixed.
Yeah.
But so moving forward, if Han wants a dog put in and he says, hey, Roger, will you list my dog on Bullypedia? How's that going to work? I'd probably have to log into his account to do it for him.
Or wouldn't I have to have a subscription?
Well, before you can add, you have to, correct. You have to be a member.
Right.
But in theory, if you want to do it, you would have to give your account information to Roger.
Fair enough. I think it's fair enough.
Because that's one.
It's happening again, Roger.
What are you doing over there? What are you doing over there?
I'm not even touching anything.
You don't hear it though?
No, I don't hear nothing.
Where's your mic at?
Right here below me.
Oh, are you rubbing your leg on your mic or something?
Or your hand on the table?
It's not doing it right now?
No.
It was bad.
I don't know what the hell it is.
Yeah, so there's a lot of benefits that it's a blending of the minds basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was stuff I wanted to add to Bullypedia, stuff that Sam wanted to add to Bullypedia. It's stuff that Rob has heard from other members, or I wish it was this. I wish he could do this, and we listened to a bunch of the users of the problems that they were having, and we revamped the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is basically, besides the data, it's basically a ground up.
Right.
Revamp.
That's awesome. So I'm gonna recap some people that have some questions. It is a revamp of Bullypedia. It's going to be more breeder friendly. You'll be able to list your studs. You'll be able to associate breedings to your studs that people can see. You'll be able to post multiple pictures and videos of your stud. Correct? Is there a
Correct.
limit to pictures and video?
No, but what the one thing you won't be able to do is you won't be able to delete pictures because we want the ancestry of pictures as well. So we
Yeah.
want you to post up your puppy pictures all the way up to their current age now.
Maturity. I got
So
you.
so people can cross-reference the picture. You know, they buy a puppy from you and they're, oh, my puppy looks just like the sire at that age.
Hmm.
You know, so
Yeah.
so we want a history of pictures as well as the dog data. So
Right.
I mean, that's one of the things people always ask. You know, do you have a puppy picture so I can
Right.
compare my dog to? You know,
Right.
or
Yeah, absolutely.
so
Yeah,
that's
and
one of the things you can always add pictures, but you won't be able to delete them.
Hmm.
If there's
yeah,
a picture you accidentally upload, of course you can contact the admin via email, and then we can edit it for that. But for general information, you won't be able to delete pictures.
Right.
So the question was here: if you sign up and one of the dogs in your dog's lineage isn't there, how will that work? So how it worked in the past was you just put it in your damn self. You know, I mean,
yeah,
Right.
you put it if there's a dog missing, you would actually go add that dog. You just wouldn't put you as the owner. You just put nobody because you don't know who the owner
right.
is.
Yeah. So basically, we're using what's on the actual pedigree. So when you send us a picture, you open it up. It indicates to people. You open it up, and you're gonna type exactly what's on the pedigree.
Mm-hmm.
And if the dog is not in Bullypedia yet, we'll build the system will build a general one, and it'll be an unclaimed dog until the owner actually
Okay.
logs in and claims the dog and fills in the rest information, including the picture, and all that.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
this is a part of what makes this a little different is every dog that is going to be on there is going to be verified in one way or another. If it's from an actual pedigree, from the registry, that's one way to do it. And then once the owner goes in and claims it and adds the pictures, then it'll be claimed. So there's no really you can't fake the pedigree, you know.
I mean,
And
we
we'll
want to
have a
be a
copy
trusted
roll.
source.
Right.
We want to be a true trusted source for the bully community. So what you see is what it is. That is the actual owner of the dog. That is the actual breeder of the dog. These are the actual pictures of the dog. And once it's uploaded, it's locked.
Right.
So you shouldn't have to add anything or update anything but the pictures. The pedigree doesn't change.
No, have you guys figured out what the subscription price is going to be?
It's still working around. We haven't decided the upper tiers yet, but it will be released soon.
Awesome.
So yeah, we're gonna have like a pre-sign up, deal going on ahead of time. So if you want to get a subscription earlier on, you'll have like a sign up list. We're actually going to start that at Paulina show this weekend at the Michiana show, and we'll also be
Awesome.
doing this at the Romania show as well on Sunday.
Oh, cool.
So you'll be letting people kind of get an early sign up before the before the site launches.
It's early lock-in, bro. Early lock-in.
Early lock-in. There you go.
Early lock-in.
lock-in.
Yeah. So, and then you're going to go as far back as the dogs that are already on there. Right?
Correct. Yeah, because
Yeah.
the data doesn't change. So
The
I
data
think
doesn't change.
I'm not 100% sure, but we should be the database that goes back the farthest.
Oh, nice.
So I scrolled down and it's gone to dogs that I didn't even recognize.
Really?
And there's been some pictures of them, and some of them do go back to black and white pictures.
Damn.
Yeah, if you've ever been on there, I've spent some late evenings like click next dog, click next dog.
Yeah.
Just keep going back, keep going back, keep going back.
And this is not just for bullies. We have multiple breeds on there. So if you're a breeder of multiple breeds, you can of the breeds that we're currently accepting, you can list them all on there.
You got long-haired Chihuahuas on there, right?
We could add that.
Yeah,
huh?
but it will all be in your yard. In your yard,
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's
so you
awesome.
can manage your whole yard. I mean, it's basically everything that at at least everything you've been looking for. Should be what we implemented, and it's not going to stop with just this release. I mean, we have other plans and development to add even more features.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
so this is, I mean, we're in this for the long haul.
It's just
So
going to grow. It's just
it's
going
gonna
to continue to
grow.
grow.
It might be a conversation that we have to show you. You know what you guys should really have. Can you add this? And it makes sense, and we'll implement it.
Yeah, we have multiple phases planned out already. We just don't want to overwhelm people,
Right,
with
with
all
too
the
Yeah.
much
different
at
things
once.
that's gonna come up. So we're just getting people comfortable right now. But there's
Right.
everything that we have in mind, for the website is geared towards breeders to help them become more successful, to help them to manage the dog, the kennels, manage the clients. It's a lot. There's a lot more than what we're kind of explaining.
Yeah.
But we
That's
just don't want to overwhelm
I
people right
mean,
now.
imagine if you are first. Let me just if you first were in getting into this breed and you add a dog and you get off with a breeder.
Does that sound, Roger?
It's got to be my headphones, which makes no sense.
So imagine if you're just starting out and you add your dog in there and you're new to the bully world. Your dog and you, if it's tied to another dog, you are now global,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if somebody with a similar pedigree as yours, that pedigree will show off in siblings, right? And then
I
you will
get you.
click on the siblings, and then you'd be like, well, this dude in the Philippines or Romania or Thailand got the same dog as me, so that guy might be reaching out to you.
Yeah.
So you're building your own community in Bullypedia, but your reach is now global.
Yeah. So I have a question. What about co-owned dogs?
Oh, this is Sam's specialty right here.
Yeah, you
Uh,
can list them. You can list them. Co-owners on there, and even multiple owners of the dog. So if there's more than one owner, or more than one breeder. It's the same way that the old Bullypedia was set up.
Okay.
but
But the primary owner is in charge of the pedigree, so they
Yeah.
have the final say in what goes on there.
Mm.
But and there's another thing too. We're trying to make it easier so people can register dogs. So let's say you do a test mating, right? It's just a concept. You might not have done the breeding or you just thinking about it, but with the higher level subscription, you can turn that test mating into an actual breeding that you did, right? And then once the litter is born, you can list how many puppies are in there, how many males and females, and it will generate, Bullypedia's profiles for each one of those puppies that you can eventually transfer to the new owner.
Oh, nice.
I got you. That's awesome.
So the goal is really to make this a staple. Everybody's going to use this to put all their dogs in. So it's one big database that everybody can go and utilize. Because the more data points you have, the better. And not just for the pedigree side, but there's DNA aspects that are coming on board too later down the line. So we're going to use all that just to have this collective information that we can use to help better the breed.
So, Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because I had to switch to earbuds, so I have no idea what
Real quick,
microphone I'm using.
Kendall, Frenchies are on there, so you can add Frenchies.
There was a question about Frenchies, French bulldogs. I'm assuming will be an option. Oldies,
Yeah.
Not necessarily all roll out at once, but I figure you're going to roll into it eventually.
No, they can add that. They can add that on the new one.
It's to the part.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
exotics is going to be on there too. So
Nice.
So, Hannah Gross, will you be able to add health testing to your profile, OFA, Embark, all that good stuff?
yes. Yeah, well, there'll be sections where you can link to the OFA results and Embark results. And like I said, that's going to be an important part for the next phase where we integrate the health testing. So when you do like a test meeting, you can see, if all of them are embarked or fake, and it gives you a better idea. This dog is clear for that, and this give you a better idea of what the results may be.
Awesome. Yeah. 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 Brian said he was trying to get an updated membership so he could add dogs, but he forgot to hit you up, Lou.
Okay. I'll go. He can always text me or hit me up, and I'll make the changes need to be. But I mean, most of it, like the old Bullypedia, will stay up until the switch is over.
Yeah.
So when that day comes, we'll forward it from the new domain to the old domain.
So should they
And
still be updating the old one, or should they wait?
I would personally wait at this point since we're close to launch.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because once we cut off, it's still going to give us a backlog to move all the dogs over. That's been, since the last update that we performed. So, just stay
Did
tuned
you
for
guys
new
address
database.
that with the DNA? Possible
Yes.
to add DNA
Yeah.
links, and I'm assuming if you did like an embark, you're going to be able to just
Yeah,
put the link in there.
exactly on the dog's landing page. The image of the dog, you can add a link to it.
Cool.
Will you make this
And-
into an app?
Now, my concept is, and trust me, this is, it'll be out hopefully next year, but it will be, if the app is developed, it'll only be a read-only app.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So you can view your
Yeah.
dogs, might be able to update your picture, but you can view what's in the pedigree. If you're going to add a dogs, you're going to have to go, the way
site.
like to the site to add a dogs. It is
Yeah.
mobile friendly, but it's a whole lot easier to use on the desktop.
Right.
If you're adding
Right.
multiple dogs. But if the app will be a read only. So it's basically just keeping your yard in your phone.
Yeah, right. Would you be able to scroll through other people's, like search other dogs on the app?
Yeah, I mean, it will be a current of the site, but you won't be able to add nothing.
Okay.
Right.
You can look at somebody's dogs, you can search for that particular user, get the information, but it's strictly a read only.
Mm.
Now, someone asked something about doing class searches instead of just specific dogs. So that would be a lot of results, unfortunately. If you just said pocket, you would get a lot of dogs. So I don't know if you would want to do that.
But nobody has, for us to do that, you would have to put a table in that users would have to put their dogs in classes.
Right.
And then we only do it on the year and up.
Oh yeah, right.
ABKC only sets it up for a year, and most other registries does as well. So
Right.
I mean, it could be a optional page, but that would be up to the user to put that stuff in there.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's awesome. That's
But yeah, we get more and more people at this point DNA testing, probably more than ever before, and more people willing to share that information. So being able to have that access to that link is great. Now, you guys will still be able to do the sharing, and what I mean by that is, like, right now I can go to Bullypedia, create the print version, which is I just use the link to the print version and actually link on my website. So I can click on it, and then on my website it says pedigrees. They click on it, boom, it goes straight over to Bullypedia.
So the way it currently works, when you send the link, when they click on the link, it takes them to the public page of Bullypedia.
Okay.
So they can see the dog profile. And once they're on there, now that link becomes active, right? So once you get on that link, you can click on the siblings. You can go a deeper dive than just having a screenshot.
Okay.
So you see what I'm saying? So you will get an active link to that dog's pedigree. Once you're on that pedigree, you can go to siblings.
I don't know what it is happening. Yeah.
That's wild.
So you can go on the link, and you can go straight to siblings, offsprings. So that link is actually will allow the user that you send it to go deeper.
Wow.
And when you
Yeah.
click on the owner of that dog, it will display the owner's contact information. So it's an active link instead of a passive link.
The given active or the given contact information.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's cool about this is, with your own landing page, the users who go to your profile, they can see all your dogs, all the dogs you produce, and if you make it public, breedings that you have coming up,
yeah.
so it's like I get a lot of people messaging me, hey, what breedings you have coming up with so and so? Do you have any litters off with this dog? And honestly, like I gotta get tired of that. And
Yeah.
now with this, everything I said, you know what, everything is updated on my Bullypedia page. Just go and take a look there, and then let me know if something interests you. And it's gonna do the same for everybody else.
That's awesome. It answers a lot of questions too, you know. Especially if someone's willing to take the time to look through your profile and the list of your dogs, it would answer a lot of questions that they may have. The redundant questions that most people have when you're searching for a stud.
Correct. And you
It's
can also, look at the videos, that's
Mhm.
one of the big things. Can you send me a video? Well, if you keep the videos updated, everything should be there. If you keep the pictures current, everything should be there. What's coming up, it
what?
should be there. I mean,
No, I get it.
everything should be on Bullypedia.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and then it's
Yeah.
just like this is just straight data. It's nobody's boasting or anything like that. Like it's no drama, which I really hate. It's just people just come and see your dogs that you produce. They see what you're about.
hmm
And everything is there. Minus
Is
all
there
the other.
is I'm sorry. Is there going to be a way to chat with a stud owner or
Oh,
breeder on there
yeah.
through
Yeah,
the app?
Yeah, that's Sam stuff right there too.
yeah,
So
yeah. There definitely will. There is. So you can chat with each other. If you want to lock in a stud, you can message them from Bullypedia. If you want to, reserve a spot on the litter, you can do that. You know, through chat with them.
Awesome.
So that was important for us, to have, because
Yeah.
we need another space besides social media, besides Facebook and
Right.
Instagram.
Right.
So you
Right.
don't have to worry about, getting your page, shut down because you're a breeder.
hmm
Because well, not only that, but they're just suppressing overall
Yeah.
breeders. You don't
Yeah.
get the reach that we used
I
to
don't
get.
even want to post any studs open or anything because I'm afraid they're gonna shut down my page. It's getting ridiculous. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. Let me
Mm.
see. Someone asked if there'll be. Yes, they said there'll be an app. More than likely, will be read only. You'll have to go to the web interface to do modifications, and we'll be able to list stats. Yeah, I mean, obviously we were able to do that before, so no big deal
hmm
there. Um, so multiple breeds, and then what are some other functions? I mean, you guys being active breeders, there are probably some things that are going to be available to us that weren't available before. We'd find some value in. What would be some of those?
I mean, one of the um, being able to take care of your own portal, that was crucial. You can advertise, so there will be a breeder's or user's profile page that
mm
you can update yourself. Instead of just the dogs, and you click on the owner, and then normally it's just the owner's info,
Right.
right? But now you'll have a little bio. You can add your kennel logo, so it's like a mini website for yourself.
That's
Perfect.
awesome.
Every
Yeah,
dog that
that's
you
really cool.
own, it'll tell you, Roger Hans got 20 dogs listed, active. Click on it, it'll list all the dogs you own,
Right.
for the user. They'll be able to click on it. That takes them to the public page. They could do the pedigrees. There's the breeder analytics page that you can see the percentage of the dogs, that's in there, a little more in depth this time,
Right.
Mm.
right? So that's one of the functionalities. The other thing we added is, instead of when you click on the dog's profile, the dog's name will take you to that dog's gallery page, right? Instead of thumbing through, you'll see all a list of all the videos you ever taken of that dog, all the pictures you ever taken of that dog, so they can look and just scroll through. If they're interested in the dog, they can look at every progression of age that dog has gone through. They can look through all the
Yeah.
videos, so they can really see what that dog is in multiple angles from whatever you posted. So you can really advertise that dog.
Mm. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
and
really cool.
beneficial, I think, too, is to have those. The dog's 8 months old. You throw up a photo, and then he's a year old, and you throw up a photo, and he's 2 years old. And I think that's beneficial because then people that are potentially interested in using your stud, now they're going to be able to go there, see the stud, see what he looked like as a puppy, because everyone likes to compare their offspring to what
Exactly.
the stud looked like. But on top of that, you're keeping that functionality where you're going to be able to go look at that stud and see what percentage of his ancestors he is. Which you had that functionality right now, but it was tougher to find or tougher for users.
Yeah, but you can also, this will show you on certain bloods that populate, right?
Right.
So you can look at the progression of the dog was like, puppy, 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 and 2 years he turned into a monster.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if you get a puppy off that breeding, okay, it's about time for him to start popping, right? So you can look from that breeder's page. Well, you can determine that his puppies pop late, some pop early, but you could determine on the gallery page, exactly roughly what time frame that's going to happen.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's always good to look, like, regardless. He said something about age. I think there was a comment like, can you be able to put what age they are?
Put age on the pictures.
Yeah, put age on the picture. But at the most part, you can look at a dog and kind of see, what age they probably.
Well, we
were.
might be able to put a date and timestamp of when he updated that picture.
That would work.
If the breeder was proactive and actually uploaded it roughly within the same time frame as the dog's age, then a timestamp would be like when he uploaded that. That might be a possibility that we can do.
They can also put notes in there too, like a little summary of the photo.
Oh yeah, because you can even do that now. You can do like copyright information. You could type that in and say this photo posted by so and so they can obviously put it in there.
But it makes us. The main thing is you get to promote your dog in a positive light, right?
Right.
If you're really into this, you can create Bullypedia and make it do everything you wanted to do, and you have a home for it.
Right.
People use it right now when they register shows. They look up the ABKC number. Because it's on there. At this point, you can only look at the full ABKC number if you're on your yard page. The public page is asterisk except for the last 3 digits. But if you want the full number, you got to go log into your, you have to click on My Yard, and then you got to click that dog, and you'll see unfiltered information that you posted.
Gotcha.
Nice.
And I'm assuming this will be fairly obvious to people that this is public information, this isn't, or is that like automatic? I can't ever see an ABKC number being a public thing, like not something you would want to make public. But
no, and we fixed that. So this will, publicly, just to verify that dog has an ABKC, we left the last 3 digits.
Okay.
It's going to tell you it's an ABKC registration number, and this is the last 3 digits of that number, basically stating the user, hey, he does have an ABKC number. If he's multiple registry, dual papered, it'll give the other registry that he's registered at and the last 3 digits of that. So you browsing, this dog is dual registered.
Yep.
All right.
But if you're the owner of that dog, you go to My Yard, it'll give you the full information.
That'll work.
Yeah, I get lost. I get lost in the rabbit hole too, Brian.
Yeah.
I think you'll get lost even more now. You'll be spending a lot more time on there.
One thing I do, one thing that I don't know, it kind of like when you do a search, when you queue up a certain dog, and a lot of these kennels use their abbreviated kennel name. How do you decipher who is who? Is there a way to mandate that they use their entire name, like Rogue Bully Camp, right? Instead of, RBC, because there's probably 200 RBCs. There's probably 200 RDBs. You know what I mean?
Right.
Are you talking about searching for the kennel or searching for the dog?
Well, it would be a lot of people put the kennel abbreviated before the dog name. Correct.
Oh, yeah. But it'll show up as the breeder of the dog. Yeah.
Well, you have to know the breeder of the dog.
Yeah, because once you click on the dog's name, it brings you to its profile page, right? And it shows you the breeder on there. So you just you just click on it.
Okay, so but I mean,
Stop moving, Roger.
You're searching for a dog, and you type in, maybe you don't know the dog's name, but you know the kennel name is SSSB, and there's 15, 20 different SSSBs.
Better not be.
I'm just saying as an example, because there are a lot of RDBs, there's a lot of RBCs, so I gotta go through each one to see if it's the right camp.
Yeah, that's user info, so that's kind of hard for us to filter out. So you have multiple aspects to search for. You can search for the kennel name, you can search for the username, you can search for the dog's name, but they're all whatever you put in.
So is there, I don't want to make it difficult, but is there a way to mandate that they write the entire name of the kennel?
Oh, you mean when
you're
they
doing it
register
now.
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing it now. So tell everybody right now, when you put your kennel name, spell it out fully.
Yeah.
Or
your dog might get lost, and your chance of selling a credit might go to a different dog. I might be fucking around, and I hit this kennel name thinking it's you, and I see a dog I like more.
That's a possibility.
So
have you run into a lot of that with dogs with the similar abbreviation and then the same names?
Most of the time when I run into it, I can't. It's either I don't remember the dog's name, but I remember the camp, or I don't remember the camp and I remember the dog's name. Yeah. So either way, there's 50, spots, or there's 25, this kennel abbreviation. So it just, if everything was spelled out, Rainy Day Bullies spot, it would go just to me.
Yeah, but sometimes, depending on the dog's name, if it's long, and then you have co-breedings, and then the new owner at the end, they like to put the kennel abbreviation in. So I like to make room. That's why I sometimes abbreviate SSB / whatever dog's name / whatever.
I mean,
whatever So
yeah.
But the important part is you can see if you go to my kennel page, and then you can see all my productions. It kind of breaks it down that way too. But the dog's name, the combination should always be unique. So if somebody tries to register that same dog in that same format, it will show them it's already it's already a dog there.
It's already taken.
Yeah, either you claim it or you dispute it.
Yeah, which is basically what he's talking about here. Is
there
wasn't any.
Oh yeah.
So if the name doesn't turn red.
Right. So the list won't come up anymore. It's as you type the dog's name to add it, it'll populate, if there's something already similar. So you'll know if somebody has a dog in that same format, in the same name.
Yeah, so it basically does a deeper search, not just the old Bullypedia would just look for certain aspects of the name to see if there's a duplicate. This one will allow you to type all the way through the end, and then if something matches it, then you could see only 5-10 dogs instead of scrolling all the way to the end, agreeing that there's no that there's no other dog.
And if you're doing it on your phone and you got fat fingers, you hit the 2 pages past next.
Yeah, or someone with a slow connection. You gotta wait for it to load and
So I gotta So here's a question for you guys here and to the public. When you look at a dog's profile, you'll see the owner, You'll see the breeder. You'll see the co-owner's information. If a dog is a show dog, would you guys want to see who titled that dog or who's the handler of that dog?
I think with that, you're going to get into a situation.
Will multiple handlers
Yeah.
have contributed to certain dogs?
Yes.
Just a general question before, it's something that we've been going round and round about. So I want to put that out there. So I'm looking for, so instead of you asking us questions, we're asking you a question now.
I got an answer.
Bad
idea. I think that private chat's gonna get hostile.
Yeah.
I think that private chat will get hostile.
Okay,
Not a lot of people understand
why are you listing that person? I got 50 points for your dog that one day. You know?
Yeah, I think you're setting that up. That's no good.
Okay, so that's two no good. Okay, let's see, Roger.
No.
Okay.
Hey, listen, guys, all you guys that are watching right now, throw out some ideas and say, hey, this would be cool. It doesn't hurt to throw it in the chat. We'll throw them up. It may be something they never thought of before.
That's what this whole thing's about.
Yeah, look, you as the owners of the dogs, go through it. You're the one that lists the dogs. You're the one that share the profiles. You're the one that deal with your clients. So if you've got ideas, now's the time to speak up because they're building it right now. And if it's a great idea, they like it, they're going to slide it in there. So
you got an answer from a handler, Pablo. You said no.
That's a lot of notes, Sam. Yeah.
So. They could be something separate. We could do that separate.
That would have to be real separate.
Or you could just message the owner.
Yeah. In reality, you could actually set up part of the database to list known handlers. And then that handler could associate the dogs that they've handled. That way, if a certain dog had been shown by multiple handlers, then it would show up that this handler handled the dog. You know what I mean? So we have dogs listed. We could also have a list of handlers, so the handlers could go in there. And if someone's looking for a dog or looking for a handler, they could go in there and search the database, find that handler, and then see a list of dogs that they've championed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be that I agree with for a handler.
So like a separate landing page for handlers to promote their services. Same like photographers, transporters and
so is it championed because the handler got the last remaining points needed?
Yeah.
Or is it championed because that handler got the majority of the points needed?
No. I won't.
Is that what you're saying, huh? Is that what you're saying? How
I'm just
saying. How you want it to be? So you want the handler's name and the amount of points.
I don't want nothing. I don't want none of that. I think if you want to know, you should message the owner. If you want to know, message the owner. That's my opinion. There's very limited people that handle my dogs. Samantha is number one. And there's two other people I trust dearly. But there's times where in a show, your handler is stretched thin. And they have to ask their handler friend to jump in. Does that person get a shout out on the page too?
No, I think you go back to giving the handlers a page and they can go down through and put, what they want to put on there, sort of like their resume, and people can come look. Like, say we've got somebody coming from overseas, they're looking for a handler. They know so-and-so, but they don't, they could type in either the dog's name and come up with that handler or the handler's name and see that handler's credentials.
Yeah. I think that'd be helpful just for the individual person's landing page, like we have for people, the kennel, and if that's their business is handling, they can, do their own profile and show pictures of all the dogs to champs, and things like that.
I agree with having something for handlers because, I had to be a handler. That's not an easy task. Those handlers take those dogs on a whim. So promoting the handler is awesome. But
I
let
don't.
them put their own
Okay, so
resume.
basically my idea got rejected. Okay.
Sorry.
No, not outright rejection.
No, not outright.
I mean, it was like a
Right.
majority rejected. I mean, I got
Look.
It just
oh
got
wow,
diverted to
everybody.
another
Look.
idea.
Yeah, I heard
If
no's
you
quick.
if you're familiar with my dog, I'm just speaking on me. If you're familiar with my dogs, you know who handles them, because I shout them out on social media for doing
You
the
know,
phenomenal job
Yeah.
that they do. You
of
know,
course, Hannah would like that.
Samantha, yeah, of course, yeah,
I mean, she works hard. Yeah, she
Yeah.
she
should
does,
have
yeah,
a place to, and that's another reward to handlers who are out here busting their hinds in every
Yeah.
weekend, traveling thousands of miles. A lot of times they're not even handling their dogs. So I think that would be very,
ooh,
Yeah.
Lou, that'd be very beneficial. I'm on your side on that part.
I like that. I like it,
Um,
and Brian's post. I mean, that that's a very good idea.
Yeah.
You know,
that
I think
that's
it would
the
be actually.
yeah.
Think it
So
would
I like
be.
that's
I
actually
like it.
gonna be that's something that we're also working on too. So that's gonna be one of the next phases is the social media platform.
hmm
Is it's the
What that noise?
Yeah,
Roger.
exactly, Roger.
Roger. So
Roger, what are you doing?
He don't know.
I
so
think
the
my
social
I
media
think my shit's
platform is
breaking.
it's gonna be part of the Bully Brain. So Bully Brain is an acronym for Breeder Resource Information Network. So that's going to be an important part for the next phase, and this is is a part of what we're building for the community. So
Yeah,
it's
I don't
another
within Bullypedia you should have a social forum. That should be just strictly professional. Go there.
yeah,
Look what you're looking for.
right.
There should be no social rigmarole that goes with that.
Yeah, we're building it separately, but yeah, it's gonna be linked into that.
Do you
So
Yeah.
know the community you associate with, Miss
That's why I
Dina?
said there should
Do
be
you
no
know the community you
social
associate with?
that
We are the definition of rigmarole.
yeah. But that's why it shouldn't be on, where you're going to
Mm,
professionally, you know what I mean? You're looking
yeah.
for your next big breeding. You don't want to get into
So then
that
you
part
would
of it.
need if that's the gonna be a part of it, you're gonna need moderators.
I decided I'm going to be the one that goes to the show and sets up the Bullypedia booth. I nominated myself.
All right.
Oh,
So here's another idea for the community. So if we attend a show and a Bullypedia representative shows up at that show and that rep measures weights, the head size, the height, the weight, and
yep.
then that's the only time that those stats can be entered into Bullypedia. So that basically will give you the
Love
day,
that
the
idea.
time, and the
Yep.
show. So you'll know how old that dog is, and then you can see he's 17 inches on this
hmm
particular day. He weighed X amount of weight. Head circumference is at this, and you know, and at that time, only the representative can write down the information, and then that gets uploaded to Bullypedia. So if
That's
we take that away from
fantastic.
the owner and we upload it by representatives. So how's everybody feel about that?
I think that's a
Agreed.
fantastic idea.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now it depends on what you.
Depends
Never
on who's
mind.
measuring.
But you so
I knew that was
No.
coming. I knew-
What are
hey,
you
no
going to
bending
use?
fucking rulers, no bending rulers, right? That's all I'm saying.
No, I agree with that 100% because you want people to be able to go on there and get the best information that
from
they
a
can.
neutral party, from a neutral
Exactly.
party.
Exactly. I
Yeah, that's a
absolutely agree with
fantastic
that. I
idea.
think it's going to be a huge benefit to the community as well when you're looking for, a certain
And
height, a certain weight, a certain, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I
right.
mean, you can look at the date, so you will know how old the puppy is when he weighed. So, at 6 months, I want to get my stats done. Okay, he now turned a year, so he popped again. So you revise the stats, so you add another
Right.
column, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
at 2 years, and when he's fully popped, his final measurements is this.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
I think a lot of
so
people would find that to be very beneficial.
okay.
Very beneficial. What did I say? I can't see.
I can't see.
I can't see. I'm on
But
my phone.
Yeah. So that to me was one of the ideas I had is how to get direct stats into Bullypedia. So
Oh
when an
yeah.
ABKC's rep is at the show, you go in, you get the stats measured, it's written down, it's updated, on Bullypedia, and it's basically going to give the dog, the person who did the stats, and what the measurements are with the date and timestamp.
That's
Absolutely.
perfect. Now and
I
then
think
that's gonna be that'd be like announced, right? This show,
Yes,
Wikipedia rep is gonna be here to do verified stats to upload all that
correct.
shit.
And we can put that in the Bullypedia page, and the show
Oh
host
yeah.
can announce it. So, with the event page, these are the shows where rep will be at. So, these are the shows I'll be attending. These are shows Sam will be attending. These are
Hmm.
shows that we're both going to be there. So, if there's ideas, concerns, or comments, we'll be there to talk face to face with everybody.
Awesome.
I
And
think that yeah.
and and the show host, for whatever registry that you're hosting shows from, you can list your show, you can advertise your show on the event page, so everybody can go there and see, on this day what shows are from what registries. They can see all the information, like what you see now with the flyer. You can see all the judges, who's hosting it, what
Hmm.
registry, all that can be on there. It doesn't have to be at a registry event. It could be a fun show,
It could be a
whatever's
meet and greet.
going on, meet and greet,
Yeah.
right? And
That's
and
awesome.
we'll have a spotlight, page to promote stuff like could be a breeder, could be an event, could be I don't know, a shelter or anything that has to do with the community. That's making an impact.
I
Yeah,
think
And we
that's
putting
want
awesome.
people.
factual stats in there is gonna
Oh.
separate you from the rest.
How about a 3D, not 3D, a 360 view of the dog done at the show. You
So,
can do
so
like a
basically,
camo.
you see a picture of the dog, you can spin the dog
Yeah,
and
Hmm.
see the dog from multiple angles.
Yeah.
on Bullypedia. So
Yeah,
that could be
Yeah,
I mean, I
like
anybody.
don't think there's a problem with that.
they have them
Yeah.
at certain shows, right? Where
Yeah.
you
We've
stand
seen it
on
with
this.
people, yeah, but I
Right,
mean,
right.
we we thought about testing it because one, the dog has to stay perfectly still while it
Uh-huh.
rotates.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's gonna be
So I
hard.
don't know. I haven't seen a camera base where for a dog. I think it's like the last one I saw. We saw it at one of the ABKC Nationals. Where the camera was spinning around, and I think that was at
Yeah,
least a 15-second spin. So
Yeah,
right.
it took a minute. It took a
yeah,
minute for sure.
yeah. So your dog gotta be on point, and he can't freak out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So I mean, it's a bomb idea. We are gonna try it.
Oh yeah. It's gonna hurt some feelings. So if you don't want your feelings hurt, you don't want to
Yeah.
be a part
I
of that.
mean,
Well, I
I
don't
mean,
think you
there's a
yeah.
have
lot of
to do it.
classics sign up for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
I
But
think you don't have to do it. It's your option.
Yeah. I
It's
think it's,
absolutely your option.
if your dog is willing to stand there, I think it's a great idea.
I
But
mean,
in
we're
the same
definitely gonna
token, I
try it.
don't
I mean,
think
we're
that's
definitely gonna
something.
try it.
I don't think it's something Bullypedia should offer for free.
Yeah. So
No,
what?
No.
So what's is there a cost involved in being certified?
we know we want to do it, but we haven't come up with that term because we want other people to be able to go there.
Yeah.
Like you want the stats to be available to everybody. So it just can't be us going to the shows and measuring stats. So
Mm-hmm.
there's got to be representatives that
Yep.
that would have to be there, and so we got to figure on what that costs for that particular representative to be at that
Yeah.
show.
I
Right.
got you.
And
Because
then you have to have a scale. You have to have a very good wicket. Not T
Right.
square.
Myo tape.
Myo tapes, all that stuff. It
Yeah.
has to be legitimate. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and everything's got to be up. If we need to, we'll probably start filming it first.
Yeah.
Because
No.
Yeah.
just to make sure that that's there. And with that dog's profile, that could be added to one of the videos.
Right.
Yeah. That's perfect.
I
That
think
works
That's
out for
perfect.
sure.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
gonna be needing reps that goes to shows in different registries. It doesn't have to be
Mm-hmm.
just ABKC or BRC or ABR. It could be UKC,
Fun
AKC
shows too as
show.
well. Fun
Yeah, fun
shows.
shows.
Oh
meet
Yeah,
and
yeah.
greets.
absolutely.
Well, that's one of the things. So I know next year we are planning on doing an ABK Bullypedia show. So we're gonna do a
Nice.
Bullypedia show. It's just gonna be a stack off. It's basically a networking environment. Um, a couple fun shows that we're gonna have in place, but it's basically we wanted to build the community back up.
Right.
You
Mhm.
know, so you put the time in, put your booth in, bring your hardest hitters, talk to people, showcase your dogs, uh, put them in, it might have 2 stack offs, that's it, but it's basically for everybody to be more of a community again.
Yeah. Where would
Hey,
this
Joe,
be?
I
Sorry.
don't think they make digital calipers that wide.
Oh wow.
But like, I don't think they make that kind of. I don't know.
Mm,
I'm not seeing.
You could. I mean,
You
just
could.
look it up, Alibaba. Hit it one of these.
I already
Alibaba.
know
But,
Alibaba.
but you
Yeah,
could
this
do a
is
real
laser
accurate one.
measurement though. I think
You
you
could
could
do
do
laser.
a laser level to see when it breaks the wicket,
Right.
the
That's true.
withers. That would be
And
digital. I
people,
mean, it's got to be something that's used standard across all. So whatever we create to make a more accurate measurement, it's going to be everybody who's a rep will have the same equipment.
So
right.
Don't they have stuff that you put an object to give an idea of the scale, and it's all done like with like AI, like it put something in a picture next to a dog, and it knows the measurement of that particular thing, and then it uses that to calculate the measurement from whatever points that you choose. I think there was stuff like that for
yeah, there's
contract
something like that
for
on the
builders.
iPhone. There's something like that on
Yeah.
the iPhone.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I say we take QK's wicket and we add another arm to the end of it, and you sandwich the dog, and then
Yeah.
you just get the measurement that way.
Without freaking out the dog.
Yeah, that wouldn't. Would that get it done for most dogs? 24-inch? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Something they might have to try to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we want it to be as accurate as possible before it gets put into Bullypedia, but
Right.
I mean, that's one of the things we wanted to change is take it away from the user and then have it certified by a neutral party.
Mm.
I agree with
And that
that.
makes
I think
sense.
it's awesome.
And then what you can count on is if the owner says, hey, this dog's got a 26-inch head, and then you go to Bullypedia and it says 25-inch, someone's bullshitting you.
Yeah, and it can't be changed. So it,
Yeah.
it's only read only.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but you got to balance out. Like, if you see it on Bullypedia, the dog actually got measured.
Right.
Yeah.
If the stud owner is telling you in a message, but he doesn't have it on Bullypedia, he could just be bullshitting you. So
Correct.
this is the instance where the Bullypedia numbers you'll be able to trust because it's independently measured.
Yeah, and
So I think that's a
and
great
if the dog pop, get it recertified again.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But see, that's a cool way to have, your baseline. And it's also good for the breeder because you have hard points you can go back to when saying, okay, at this age, I can expect this next litter, if it's similar to this dog, to its growth to be hit certain milestones at certain ages,
Yeah, and you can also see when you weigh a dog was like, okay, it's off the same. My dog can hold a little bit more, still look good.
Oh yeah.
You could pack on an extra 5 pounds on a dog,
Mm-hmm.
because the sire was at 85 and you're at 80. You'd be like, well, the sire still looks good. Let's go ahead and add another 5 pounds.
DeAndre. Yeah, I think it's a fantastic tool. I think it's going to cut a lot of BS out of these inflated stats people have.
That's what I was thinking. It's gonna hold the owner very credible, and I think that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you can see who gets certified and who doesn't certify.
No.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, people want to they don't think of anything less than 24 inches is a small head. That's fucking. That's a big head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depending on the height of the dog, the size of the dog, like we're so infatuated with the bigger number, when really, if the dog is balanced and proportioned, everything looks good.
Yeah.
You can have,
Oh, absolutely.
and it's, to me, it's aesthetics. Like the dog has to look good. I don't care what the fucking stats are. If everything looks good where it's at, that's all that matters to me.
Right. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, if a dog has features that you need and the head ain't one of them, then who's the shit what his head looks like? You know what I mean? They might not be breeding to him for his head. You may be breeding to him for something else.
Right.
But there are people that need big heads out there. So,
Well, as it is
gotta
right now,
reach.
Bullypedia is a huge tool for the community. So as
Oh,
it
yeah.
progressively gets better, I mean that it's just going to be everything a breeder could be looking for when you're looking for anything. At that point, it's going to be height, head, how many offspring, who's the dog been bred to. It's even right now as it is, I find it a very valuable tool. So as it gets
So
better,
I have
Yeah.
a question with this comment on here from It's Diamonds. What if could possibly farther down the line, say, a bigger name kennel that has multiple studs, they can't bring 10, 15 studs to a show. Would it be possible to pay for a rep to go to their yard to do all these things?
Yeah, because you gotta put the rep is the one we certify.
Right.
That's where the integrity comes from.
Right.
So it doesn't matter where he goes. Trust, and his name is actually going to be
On
on the
there.
measurements.
Yeah.
So it's up to him to be legitimate about the whole process, and he's the one who's recording it, so everybody will know who did it.
Right.
that's
And
all.
just to recap, you guys don't have a hard launch date yet. Soon, but not necessarily a hard launch date.
We are definitely shooting for first of the year.
Okay.
Ooh. That's right around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So with all the data migrations,
Yeah, we could have been done earlier, but we added a lot of useful features for breeders and for the community. So that's why
yeah,
we have to
and
push it back a little bit.
that's the
Yeah.
problem that me and Sam got. It's oh, we could do this. Oh, how about this? Oh,
Yeah.
that'd be dope.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. So
That's
one
awesome, though.
idea has expanded into
Right.
multiple different avenues. It went from the follow to I'm interested feature. Everything
Right.
has grown from one feature, added to another feature, that added to another feature. So at this point, we just basically recently just cut it off. Everything. We have to get out there. Because you get the right people involved, this thing could evolve every single day.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Just
Absolutely.
having this podcast, I got some no's that I was really pushing on the changes. So now that's dead in the water. And then we added another feature that everybody wants to see.
Yeah.
Right.
With the certified stats.
Yeah. I feel like the biggest thing is like especially with the certified stats, your checks, right? Like I bring a dog. I see that a Bullypedia representative is gonna be at the show. I bring a dog that I want certified. He's not in the system. What would I need to bring? His registration, so I'm not lying about his date of birth. I'm not, you know what I mean, or I'm not changing his name or anything
Probably
like
the
that.
same thing you need to bring to register.
Show a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
make sure you're the owner, because only the owner can certify the dog.
Yeah.
What if the owner sent the dog off with a handler?
Well, I mean, write a piece of letter with his signature on it,
Okay.
something that we can scan and keep on file. That
Gotcha.
basically we got a piece of paper to authorize this individual to certify the dog.
Perfect.
Yeah, because
Maybe there could be
and you can set that up ahead of time too.
Right.
Sending us an email and say, hey,
Oh,
we're going to be
perfect.
at this show, and this is my information. This is the handler that's going to take my dog over there, and we can, set all that up.
Awesome. Great
Yeah.
idea.
That'd work. Yeah, we got
So
some
those,
new ideas and killed some old ones, and you know.
mine was new. Mine wasn't an
Make-
old idea. This was a new idea.
Yeah.
You know.
Making progress. We're making progress.
Yeah.
You know, but it's. I mean, that's what Bullypedia really is. Is people that want certain things. You know, I wish it could be this. You know,
Right.
that's how
Right.
this whole relaunch started. You know,
Yeah.
oh, it's too cumbersome, man. I get lost. Okay, let's simplify it.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
I get a bunch of calls on videos, so let's add videos. I want a place where I can maintain all my dogs. Okay, here's my yard. You know, I want you to put the shine on the breeder as well as the dog. Okay, here's
Right.
here's the breeder's portal. You know, where you can look at the breeders and list everything he's done. You know,
Right.
what's up with the co-owner? Okay, we added the co-owner features into that.
I
You know,
feel like that's going to launch a lot of really good programs that don't get the spotlight they deserve
Yeah.
because they're not so charismatic or flashy on social media,
Right.
but they
Yeah.
breed amazing fucking dogs, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
And if it's you take away all the glitz and the glamour and the fucking sparkles, and you just show me good quality videos of dogs and your consistency, that's all I need to fucking see, you know. I don't need all the extra talk, you know, and inflated bullshit. Like,
well, look
just
at
let me
this
see
way
the
too.
dogs.
I mean, you could see dogs in other countries now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so we'll be able to. The data's being collected. We haven't put the information out there where it's filtered, but you might be able to search eventually all the dogs in Romania. Which
Yeah.
one's the land of standings in Romania? So which dogs are basically saying which dogs were there, you know?
Yeah.
So you can
Hmm.
filter
Yeah.
that way. You can go what's going on in China. These are all the dogs, change the land of standings to China, and these are all the dogs they have in China. But now you get to see
Yeah.
exotics, you get
Yeah.
to see all the dogs that they carry. So if somebody's yard is a multiple breeder, he was like,
Right.
oh, he does this too. I do that too. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
now
Right.
contact that dude and be like, hey, I heard you got long haired chihuahuas. You know,
Yeah.
what's up? Let me see what you got. That's a whole
Yeah.
conversation, but that's something you would have never known about that particular user.
Right.
Yeah. And
Then
That's
you
this
have
is
awesome.
something else in common.
yeah, this is like really beneficial to like a breeder, myself, because always on the lookout for out process. I'm looking for programs that are breed a certain way, kind of to match what I'm doing, so I can bring the blood in. Because as much as I invest in the dog, I invest more into the actual breeder who
The
produces the dog.
breeder. Yeah.
Because that's very important. The breeders program. So being able to see somebody's program, how they breed, by looking at the pedigree of the dogs, all the dogs they produce, that gives me more information about that particular program, that particular breeder. That I need to reach out to them. They have what I need. They breed the way that I like, so I can introduce that blood to mine. Here we go. I don't have to go to another country to see it. You can see it all in
Yeah.
Bullypedia.
Yeah.
Now, the
Wow.
one
Because
thing,
That's
me,
awesome.
like us being able to travel and see all the dogs, not everybody can do that,
Yeah.
and not you really don't need to if all the information is on there.
Well, even if you can travel, when you come back, you can't find anything else on the dog because it's not available to us.
Right. And that's why it's important, as a community, as breeders to push this so we can get as many dogs registered, as possible, and get as many
Yeah.
breeders registered as possible. And it's not just about putting money into our pockets. No, this is built with the community in mind, not a
Right.
get rich, quick scheme.
That's
So we're
awesome.
building it for
Well, I mean,
longevity for the
it's got
community
to
and
be
for the
able
breed.
to afford to maintain itself.
Yes.
I
Definitely.
feel like it would.
Yeah, yeah.
I've
First and
Well, I mean,
foremost, got
but
to
look at
you
the
got to be able to
information that
pay.
you have is like, okay,
right.
one of the fields that I like, okay, it's the land of birth, right? So you know where the dog was born at. And then now the land of standings is overseas. So you can
Hmm.
trace that, and then imagine a country now has built up their stock. Now the land of birth is a foreign country, and now the land of standings is the US. So you can see that community has grown and starting to
Right.
produce some monsters.
Right.
Right.
Because
Right.
now first they were importing, and
Yeah.
then once they got the stock up, now they're exporting.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, for a country to have,
Yeah.
okay, it was born here, but now it resides in the U.S.
Yeah,
You know, that's
awesome to see the growth, you know,
right.
of
But you can see
programs.
that in Bullypedia. You know, like you
Right.
can see the birth and landings change, so you can see different countries growing with American Bully. You know, producing
Yeah.
hitters. You know,
That's
Right.
awesome.
I'll
That's
tell you
really
one
cool.
thing.
go ahead.
Tell you one thing I'd like to see, which might complicate things, but when I'm looking at it, when I'm looking at a stud and I'm looking at his offspring, right? So you'll
Yeah.
see this stud and then produced, you know, and I look at it as produced. It's just a list of dogs right now. So I go
Yes.
down and all I see is a list of names. And it would be kind of nice if you were able to click on the stud, click on his produced, and it presents you with a kind of like a whatever you want to call it,
Almost like a gallery.
like a gallery page of his offspring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
But in a
I
picture
may be
format.
looking right instead of a text list to actually draw from the database the pictures of the dogs and then list them all.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's what we have. Yeah, that's what we have set up now, actually.
Okay.
So you can see like a small, you know,
it's a
picture of the
thumbnail
dog.
view. Yeah.
Thumbnail,
It's a
right.
thumbnail. So what Roger's talking about, instead of getting a list of names, it populates big square pictures of all the productions.
Right.
Yeah.
And then because that's what's going to draw you to follow deeper into the dog. So instead of listing, so instead of the focus being the name and a thumbnail, it's basically the focus will be the picture with the name of the dog on the bottom, and that picture is hyperlinked to take you to the pedigree if you want to go deeper.
Wow.
Yeah, the pictures I think is going to be just big enough so you can view, and then if something is interesting, you can click on it and get a bigger view. Because we have to keep in mind the information that we have on the page. You know, the picture, the dog's name, and so we try to limit that as much as possible so we can get the picture as big as possible without, you know, dropping off certain data. So
yeah,
so we're on the same page.
That's so fucking cool. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Well, in that same instance, you can see you take this stud and then you've got the breakdown of the dogs, and then you can look at what bitch he bred to and how it produced.
Right.
You know, so you can see, okay, this blood worked amazing with that blood, but not so much this blood.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to be able to break it all down.
You can actually search, you know, let's say golden child bred to whichever other stud that you want, you know, and it'll give you a list of dogs, and it tells you what generation the other stud you want to see is in, you know, first, second, third, fourth, and you'll see, and then once you can break down to those peds even more and see the percentages of.
But pretty soon it's going to be better than 23andMe.
20.
It's going to be better.
Yeah.
Be bullies than me.
I mean, you also that's great if you only breed pedigrees, but you got to breed to the dog too.
Right? Yeah, but I mean, it just gives you an idea. I can remember 5-6 years ago, Roger and I sat at the table, and that's all we did at night. We literally sat and went through Bullypedia, all in the car, Bullypedia, at the dinner table, Bullypedia. You know, and then you reach a certain point where you think you have all the information you need, and then these two guys come out and like, hey, we're gonna make it better. I'm like,
all that hard work, all that fucking figuring out the navigation.
But as a breeder, it's such a tool, and I hope people understand what this puts out there for us as breeders, you know, whatever. It's an amazing tool, tool.
Yeah, you wanna breed better. You know, you always want to improve.
Absolutely.
So that's good competition. You know,
now, are you gonna?
Is
there gonna be a place to put in there when the dog's been DNA'd?
Yes, and we were actually in your My Yard. The DNA is public or private, so you can actually make every bit of information public. Your choice.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah,
and as the owner, you can put notes in there. You know, let's say if you know this particular stud produces this trait, you know, plus or minus, you can put it in there for yourself. You can make it public. You know, I would encourage people to make that public so other people can see. So the whole idea is to get accurate data, as much data as you can for other breeders, so they know how to use your dog. You know, so
Right.
that they know what they're getting. We
Right.
don't want to hide anything. We don't want to mislead people. It's
Right.
And people should want to absolutely do this because I think it's gonna separate the here we are and hey, I just got two dogs. You know what I mean? I think it's gonna make better breedings.
Yeah, but the data is locked. It's you can't change it. So what it is
Right.
what it is. So it's just your encyclopedia.
Yep.
So it's Bullypedia. So everything that you
It-
need to know is right there.
And it's not going to be like Wikipedia, where
No, where
someone
you
can
could,
go into
yeah,
your shit
and,
and
Yeah.
change some shit.
Change your shit
Oh
on.
man. Oh my god.
I think it'll
dude.
be an ever evolving. I don't think it's a site that will ever truly be done because
no,
as you guys start producing it, there's going to be like, oh, hey, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
but
They're
that's
gonna be
a
like, yeah, look at that.
conversation. There's not some. I mean, everybody here has had that conversation, right?
Mhm.
We do the same thing with breedings.
Right.
So we do the same thing with Bullypedia. It's everybody gets. I mean, just like the stats. Now we're traveling.
Right.
So that evolved to another step. Okay, here's the people. You contact them if they can travel. But
Yeah.
it's constantly growing. The features will
Right.
constantly grow.
Right.
Well,
That's
especially
yeah.
now with you guys getting out at shows because, maybe it's something people don't know about. Maybe you can give them a little demonstration
yeah,
and show them at a show how beneficial this is for them.
Ever evolving.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and
but
another thing it does is it levels the playing field because you'll have breeders that have really good websites and they'll have all kind of information available, and then you'll have people who wouldn't know the first thing about making a website. So now they'll be able to link their clients, huh?
hmm
That's me.
What is
I don't know. I'm computer retarded.
Oh yeah, okay. But now essentially they're going to have a website. It's going to have all their studs, their contact information, DNA, whatever other information they want to put on there. And that, as far as that's concerned, that's huge.
Yeah, my
Oh.
puppy.
Yeah.
I'm up ready to run. I'm like, hold on, I've got to go.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
you can list your stud fees there, and if you have a litter, you can break down the prices on there, and then they can just contact you directly through Bullypedia, and
Yeah.
And then as they sell off that litter, they can go into their yard and take it off.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. As long as they can modify it, themselves.
Right.
It absolutely puts everybody on a level playing field.
Mm.
And
I mean,
this
everything
recently,
here.
like if you do your test mating and then it goes to the breeding and then they have the litter, I really like the part where it automatically curates a pedigree link for that
Oh,
puppy
yeah.
that you just produced,
Oh, nice.
and then transferring it to the new owner, and that gives
Mm.
them that's an added tool for them, even if it's a pet home. Like I get a lot of people that I pet home to, that they want to know about the litter mates. Who has them? They want to follow. They want to just see how that one's developing, and now
Right.
it's like you can go to Bullypedia, you can see all that. Here's your link because you're a pet owner. Here's your link. They can update the pictures. It'll be separate for pet owners.
Right.
But we're building with them in mind as well. Because they are a part of the community too. It's not just breeders.
A huge part.
Now this could be something that could possibly be implemented down the road. But the problem is it would require every dog to be DNA tested.
Yes.
And those traits be shared with Bullypedia, which is it's going to be a long time before every dog is DNA. But if all the information was in there, obviously you guys can do something.
But this is the key thing about the DNA, right? Right now, when you DNA a dog, you have to stay within that registry, right? So Bullypedia will allow you to cross-register, different DNA. Even if your dog is ABKC registered, you can DNA with Bullypedia, and the dam that's in another registry can come in, and you could do parentage matching because it's all housed in BP. It's not registry bias.
Right.
That's awesome.
And with the Bully's DNA, it's gonna be, to me, it's gonna be no difference than than the Frenchies. Everybody who buys a Frenchie, they want to know if it's 4-panel clear or whatever. They want to know if you DNA them. They can DNA by parentage, and if they don't have that, they can DNA the puppy separately. So most of the people that I sell Frenchies to, they, especially the breeders, they want to know if their DNA profile.
Right.
So bullies, eventually it should be the same.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
But
All right,
it,
guys,
And
I gotta go pack.
all right,
I'll see you all this
Bye.
weekend.
all right,
Bye.
bye. But it is nice to have everything there. Like you don't have to be as a breeder. You don't. Oh, hold on. You have to keep everything on your phone, right?
yeah,
Right.
Oh, okay. Let me
I'm
send you this.
horrible with that.
Let me send you that. Oh, hey, you forgot to send me that. Now the answer is like, go to Bullypedia.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually everybody will just get used to it. Just go to Bullypedia. You don't have to ask the owner. Like I always tell people, just go to my website. But even myself, I don't always keep my website updated with new pictures. But here, it's just gonna be, instead of me going on to Facebook and reading dumb stuff, I'll just make sure my Bullypedia is up to date, because I'll know that this is where everybody's going to check. My dogs, see what I got available, what breedings I'm doing, and just things like that.
Okay, so one of the things I know we didn't speak about. Okay, so when you're uploading a picture of your dog, once you're in my yard, you have a choice to browse, which means it's on the computer or on your phone, and browse your library, or you could take a live shot and upload it.
Oh,
So
nice.
so you could be at a show as soon as your dog wins grand champion, you could take a picture right there, and you could choose camera, and it'll send it right into that profile of that dog.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. That's really good idea.
So it's live. That was one of the things. Instead of copying it, downloading, wait till you get home, you could do it in a couple seconds right there. You could upload live basically.
Now you'll have attachments for like contracts, stud contract, puppy inquiry contract.
Oh, that's a nice one. Thank you.
Yeah, we actually have something interesting with that in mind. It's going to be, I don't know if it's going to be phase 2 or 3, but definitely some, digital contracts, having it there, just a template for everybody to use.
Yeah,
Just keeping everybody honest.
I
Can't really
it.
talk about that too much right now, but that's coming too.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she had mentioned that, and honestly, that I think, in my mind, is the biggest thing, is that my yard function and what you show to the public.
Right.
Where it before, old Bullypedia was, you went there to see a dog, and the owner or the yard was kind of the secondary factor, right?
Yep.
Where now you're given the ability of the owner or the yard to have a landing page where people can go there and they can see that dog. They can see the other dogs, because I'll tell you, it's not the first time somebody's asked me about locking in one of my studs. I sent them to the webpage. They turn around and message me back and start asking me about another dog.
Yeah.
Right. Because all the dogs are listed on one page, and they may have been interested in that dog, but then they saw this other dog.
Right.
So you may get somebody come to your Bullypedia, and they came looking for a particular dog, and then now they're going to get access to all of the dogs in your yard. So if you have multiple studs, that's a huge feature.
It's a
Yeah,
huge
because
one.
I get people messaging like same thing. They and I send them my website. They, I didn't know you owned that stud. So now they see everything.
Yeah. One stop shop.
Well, it should slow down the questions too. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that was the big thing, and I think we're all bad at that as well, is keeping everything updated. I mean, if you have, so you got to update social media, you got to update your website, and then with Bullypedia, if everything stays there, and you update one place, I mean, you're golden.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Now, this is probably like a minor thing, but in a situation with a co-own situation, let's say the co-owner lists a dog under the co-owner, the secondary owner, does it automatically show up on their profile like now they own this dog?
It shows up as
goes to a primary.
Yeah. But it should show up in the co-owner too. But the co-owner can't update that dog's
Mhm.
profile. Only the
Okay.
primary owner can.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
So primary. I mean, we gave all the power to the primary owner.
Okay. Right. That makes sense.
So if that dog was to be sold, the primary owner would have to change ownership
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
on their page. Gotcha. Damn.
Or the new
It's a
owner
game
would have to
changer.
request from the primary owner.
Yeah.
But the other good part about that is that if the dog is, God forbid, stolen and someone tries to sell it, then, you know, it's not the co-owner or the secondary owner that can transfer ownership out from under the original owner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to me, that's good.
Yeah.
Who's
I mean,
considered a
it's just
primary owner would be the person that produced it.
yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Well-
somebody went up to somebody and said, "I want to co-own this dog with you." You know. So
Right. I would say the primary owner is the name on the registration.
Yeah. First. I mean,
First name
well,
on the
if
registration.
I mean, there's people that co-own that both names are not going to be on there, so that's.
Right.
But whoever's
Right.
name is first is the primary owner.
Right.
you know,
Now
but
there'll
you
be-
got, but you have to understand this too. We're uploading what the registry is providing, right?
Right.
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 So
Yep.
if the registry says you're the primary owner and you're the secondary owner, that's what Bullypedia is going to display.
Yeah.
Right.
I got you.
And so if there's a change of ownership, we need an updated, registration that shows this is the new owner before we can really make the transfer anyway.
And I'm assuming we're talking about a form here. I can go and say, hey, this is some mine so and so. I'm the new owner of this dog, and attach the
Yeah.
attach
Yep.
the ABKC pedigree, and then hit
Yep.
submit. So on your
Yep.
end, you guys get a message, and you're able to confirm via pedigree that the ownership has changed, and then you could just reassociate the dog with a different account.
Yep.
Yeah. See, that's
Because
awesome.
because we display what the registry provides. I mean, we know
Right.
shape or form controlling the breed. We just, it's a knowledge base for the breeders. So whatever the registry paperwork you provide is what we're posting, and the data's locked. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
name issues, all that stuff has nothing to do with BP. Like that's issues of the registry that you have to fix. Whatever the result is, you could send it to us, and we will make the appropriate changes.
Yeah. See, that's awesome. It's an upgrade for a lot of people. What's
And it's,
on the horizon?
I mean, it should be simpler as a new user, and that's one of the things we wanted to fix.
Right.
Is
I'm sure she means that.
but for the old people, it may be like, they moved it. It's just like a new Windows OS.
Mhm.
I'll be like, so everybody. I mean, there will be time to adapt to the changes, but in the long run, the
There's
information
more
that you'll get.
simplicity though,
Yeah.
as far as
I think-
navigation.
Then going back to Vanessa, so I think what she's saying is whether you're listed as a primary or the co-owner on the registry's paperwork, you both need to give permission if there's a change, which is true. But in this sense, and we go by that too. So if there's a change of ownership, that's done by the registry. You give us a copy, and then we'll update it. But in this sense, only one person can be the primary that can update the pictures, and the information on the dog.
Right.
Yeah,
I
having
think we're
two people on there that be able to do that, it complicates things. So it's better if we just do this. So if you have, if you're in a colon, situation with somebody, it should always be someone that you can trust.
Right.
But we have to take the side of the primary, whoever's listed the names first. Because even on the paperwork with the registry, they ask you primary and the co-owner, even though once they're registered, it's the same thing, right? No one has more power than the other.
Yeah, I don't know if there would be a way, and I didn't know if maybe she was also talking about, there are scenarios where dogs are co-owned, but they were actually also co-produced.
Oh,
Yeah.
it'll show on there. You update on there if it's co-produced, even if it's not on the registration paperwork showing that it's co-produced. Like people do co-breedings all the time, and and only one person's name is on there on the puppy's paperwork, but if you co-produce that dog and you both know it, as a primary owner, I would hope you add the co-producer on there. But it's up to them to do that because we won't know.
Yeah, and so I mean, it goes back to whatever the registry states. That's what's going to stay in Bullypedia.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, if you get a pedigree, let's say, for instance, like for Sam and I would be a good instance. So you'll have RBC/triple SB would be in the front of the dog because it's co-produced versus if I bought the dog from him, it would be triple SB dog name of RBC at the end. So that really dictates how the dog gets listed, right? Whatever the registry is providing is how the dog's going to get listed. If your name is in the front, you're co-produced. If your name's in the back, you're just co-owned.
Yes.
Yeah. I like it.
And where there'll be a limit on breeds on the page. And so pretty much, I mean, it's called Bullypedia, so you would think it would be limited to bully breeds, but at the end of the day, it probably will expand beyond that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Because
So,
just so people know, like there's a back end and there's a front end, right?
Correct.
They can rewrap the front end and make it a completely different name, but still be the same database, which would give owners, which would be nice because it would give owners the ability that breed. Maybe they breed American Bullies, maybe they breed Oldies, maybe they breed Shetland sheepdogs, whatever. When it gets to that point, if you have multiple breeds, when you find that owner, you also find all the breeds that they also produce.
Yeah, it's the database is built in mind for growth, for other breeds and
that was the hardest thing for us is we had to build for expandability. The old BP was, needed a major back end upgrade. And so that's what we're really focused on first was building a solid foundation on the back and to allow us to take as much data as possible and having a table for each data that we can pull the front end with. We can do filter searches. That was one of the big things is like when that function becomes available, we already have your land of birth and land of standing data. So we can allow you to filter from the land of standing or the land of birth data to give you more information.
Yeah, and this formatting is so it's user friendly. It's easier to look at, easier to digest.
So I have a question. Well, Vanessa asked it, but I have an addition to the question. And can any registry join this?
We have a list of registries that we are currently accepting. Once it comes out, we will be expanding it, but we're going to have some criterias.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my addition to her question. Certain registries allow hybrid breeds.
Correct, but I mean, one of the things is we have to. How long has the registry been established? How much data points do you have? Like how much data do you have? That kind of thing.
Right.
I mean, we don't want to. And I'm not saying this happens, but we don't want to add a registry that may not be there later.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
there has to be a standard, like this whole thing is about trust, and if there's a registry that, may be known for doing some stuff that we as a community don't want to be a part of, they won't be added. So there has to be a standard for all registries that come on board.
Yeah, and we haven't came out with a number, but there will be a time frame of how long you've been established as well.
Yeah, I got you.
And I think that's only fair for the community that uses Bullypedia.
Right.
Like they want to know that the data is from something that just didn't pop up.
Right. Yeah, I got you.
Lou actually talks a lot. We could be on the phones for like 5 hours sometimes, just just talking about this stuff. So.
Yeah. I mean, you can see how easy it is to keep expanding the possibilities.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
I got like 100 things going through my head. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
all
but
right,
that's the same
say, you know what I
conversation
mean?
we be having though. You know,
Yeah.
it like it goes on, and especially when you start getting techie,
Mhm.
you know,
Right.
you
Yeah,
can go
exactly.
on. I mean,
Yeah,
actually,
we
somebody had to cut us off on, somebody had to jump in front of us, was like, that's it. No more changes.
yeah,
Right.
Mm.
yeah, because we probably would never get it to the launch day. We keep adding more stuff.
Mhm.
So
Well, at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you got to leave your developers alone so they can actually finish
yes,
what it
exactly.
is.
Yeah, I mean, we got yelled at a couple times,
Yeah.
so,
I mean,
switch-
yes, Chris,
uh,
you
You
can
didn't have to
ask
switch
since,
accounts to do it.
yeah,
since you're
but
on your wife's account.
yeah.
It's crazy enough you're asking on your wife's account, so go ahead.
Yeah,
No?
that's gonna be kind of nice to be free of the microphone for a minute.
We're,
I mean,
We're all waiting
it's
for
I,
the
nice not
question
hearing
now,
that
right?
noise.
I mean, the creation of this is like a rabbit hole. You can just
Yeah.
go so many tiers deep into this thing. And it comes from the community, like just having this conversation. There's
Mhm.
a couple features that got added into this that we have to go back and to be like, and we got to change this, to allow
Right.
us to capture more data, like locking the stats. Okay, now users, the users can't add the stats anymore.
Right.
So
Right.
so that will be blank, and so we gotta lock all that.
Yeah.
Now,
Oh, yeah.
Vanessa asked this question. I imagine initially it's just going to be you're adding the link to your
Right.
whatever. But I imagine there's plans down the road because Bullypedia did offer DNA testing in the past.
Correct.
I think I remember that, but probably won't be initially part of this new system. Something you add later.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be added, but right now we're just taking your DNA profile data and being able to show it in the dog's profile.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah, in the future we'll have the DNA on there, because I mean the goal is really to make this more available to breeders, to the community. So bringing down the price of the DNA testing. So
Right.
we are working through that right now, and then eventually we'll have our own interface, to kind of display more breed specific information when it comes to the DNA testing.
Yeah.
And this data wise probably not as relevant, but giving people the ability to upload their logo, change how that public facing page looks. So if their
Mhm.
colors are primarily red and black, they can change their page to be red and black. If it's green and yellow, let them change the
It's
page
like,
to be green and yellow.
what was
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Was that like
That was
MySpace?
yeah,
Was that like MySpace?
yeah.
It's Breeder's MySpace.
I mean,
What
I'll
is
give it
called
to Sam. That was his, that was
Yeah.
his
Bully
multi-template,
space.
Yeah.
multi-template theme.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I wanted the breeders to have like their own space, make it their own.
Yeah.
So that was important. So we are in a that's in development as well. So you have different templates, different themes that you can choose, kind of make it your own. Put your logo in the background, kind of like faded out,
Yeah,
Mhm.
So
almost like a watermark. Yep.
yeah, because we want people to be
Gotcha.
comfortable going on here to use it, like how you're on Facebook and your profile page,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
That's
this
awesome.
may not be, as a guy that used to do bully banners, this might be another great option. Is when the client uploads a photo of their dog, don't dumb it down to like a postage stamp. Because lots of times, if I'm trying to
Oh,
build a bully banner, you know what I mean.
yeah.
And the only place
Right.
you can find a picture of the dog is on Bullypedia. But if you pull it off, the servers in the past have kind of crunched that photo down to
Yeah.
a smaller size.
And then when you
Yeah.
zoom in, it pixelates real bad.
Yeah, it pixelates real
Yeah.
bad. But
Yeah.
if we're able to have a high resolution photo of the dog, so it still shows that little photo when you click on it, then it would show you a more high resolution version.
Yeah, so
Would-
that's what the
would be
gallery page
beneficial.
is for. Yeah, so that's what
There
the
you go.
gallery page. So the
Breeder
dog's
space.
gallery page will have all the high res pictures along with the video.
Yeah. Yeah.
The last person you can get a high resolution photo from is the owner. They're going to screenshot a picture in their library and send it to you. So
Yeah.
you're like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this?
Mm.
So it would be nice to have a good source for promotional purposes to have a gallery of, known photos.
I mean, that could be a thing too, is we can allow them to a download page.
Right.
Yeah, good idea.
But not only that, I mean, if you think about when they do the pairing,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? When they do the pairing, essentially,
it's a high res.
if they've uploaded good photos,
Yep.
and they do the pairing, that essentially is your breeding banner right there. You got
Yep.
the whole pedigree broke down and both dogs. I mean, what else do you need?
Yeah, because we changed test mating from top and bottom to center expanding out.
Yeah. They said everything but oldies. They're not taking no damn oldies.
Yeah. Sorry,
So-
Creed.
So we do American bullies, we got exotics, and I might be missing one. We have American bulldogs, oldie bulldogs, English bulldogs, shorty bulls, and
Frenchies.
if I didn't say before, exotics and Frenchies.
Right. With
So
the
pretty much
possibility, obviously, of adding on.
the ABKC lineup of breeds, pretty much.
Yeah,
That'd be fair. That'd be fair.
Nice.
So I'm gonna give you guys 10-minute warning because I want to be able to make what do you call that? Clips off of this. And if I go over 2 hours, they punish me. So we got about 10 minutes left. If y'all have questions, throw them in there and we'll definitely get them addressed. But last couple ones we've let run over, and then part of promoting this for you guys is me being able to cut that up and get it out there for people. So
we appreciate everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
next, only bullies. That's a separate website.
But if you,
Let me go through.
I mean, if you search
Good.
for bullies, that's all you get. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I even imagine, like, I was talking with Sam, like, if you go beyond the bully breed down in the future, it's probably going to have a completely different, like, customer-facing website. So
Yeah.
you wouldn't go to Bullypedia and search for, a collie, and it would show
No.
up. No, it's just going to be limited to bullies. If they decide to add a different breed later that's beyond the bully scope, it would be a different kind of forward-facing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be awesome. It's gonna be ever evolving, right? It's gonna be progressive. It's gonna change with.
I mean, there's no
What's-
end. I mean,
Right.
there's no end. I mean, you got what, 200 and something breeds.
Right.
Right.
So it's never ending, and we all, we're all, interest peaked by different breeds. So it's time to start developing that breed.
Yep.
And it's not saying we're not working on it, but we're filling up the back end first.
Yeah.
So that's populating data from,
Right.
Before we launch a new breed, it has to be a back end.
Right.
So I think it correct me if I'm wrong, but who enters puppies could be the breeder if they do it.
Sure.
But if
Yeah.
you buy a puppy, and just say you buy a puppy and the owner didn't already have the puppy in there, then obviously you'd be able to set it up yourself. You just provide your paper.
Right, and that's why we're encouraging breeders to do that, for their clients ahead of time. With the feature where it auto generates for the litter, based on the input that you give us, and then you have to go in there later and update as you get the permanent puppy papers. We want to enter that in for each individual puppy, so that you can later on transfer that to the new owner.
Right.
Yeah.
Which
But
honestly,
if not,
would work
the
out
new
great.
owner, the new owner, they once they permanently register their puppy, they can submit that and create a profile for the dog themselves without the breeder.
Right. Yeah. Even if for some reason let's say the breeder drops a ball, he doesn't put the litter in there, that doesn't matter. When you submit your final paperwork, boom, your dog's in regardless.
Exactly.
And then it links up after that to that stud, to that female. So the pedigree's built for you. You don't have to worry about putting all that shit in there.
Right.
Someone had mentioned something. I heard it mentioned twice, so I just want to address it again real quick. someone said, "What if one dog in my pedigree isn't there?" Your dog is going to be there because you submit the paperwork. You're submitting the pedigree. That entire pedigree will be in there. It may not have a picture because the pedigrees don't have pictures, but at least the dog will. It would take someone claiming the dog and going in and adding a picture for it to work.
Yeah, if there's no picture, it'll just be a Bullypedia logo on it, or a dog from a breed or something.
Yeah,
and then in time that will get populated when the owners update. You can contact the breeder. Hey, you got a picture of the sire or dam? Can you upload that for me? And it will filter all the way down. So eventually, it will be like everything else. It'll all be populated.
Yeah.
Right. And then another thing worth mentioning is that your data is secure. If you put it on Bullypedia, you don't have to worry about anyone else like trying to steal your information and set up their own listings on some other website. Like this is, I mean, I guess they could do it manually, picture and copy and paste, but you don't have to worry about bots coming in and ripping off all your information.
No, but that's where you want to tell, for the first time, you could just tell your customers or people inquiring, just go to Bullypedia. Just create a user account. You don't have to pay for a user account, and everything that I have in my yard is right there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're going to get the most current information there. Just so if for some reason your dog's data shows up somewhere else, that doesn't mean it's current. Over here, just make sure you go to Bullypedia to get the absolute most current information.
Yep.
Pictures of
so DeAndre, I'm gonna answer DeAndre. You ever go to a restaurant and you want seafood and it says MP? Market price.
I like that.
Yeah.
They have to establish the fee. Still, I'm sure that there's cost and with all the upgrades, there's additional cost that's going to be there, especially.
I mean,
it's going to
people
be
gotta understand.
affordable. I mean, we're not making any drastic, price changes from what you're already seeing out there. So we're trying
I mean,
to save
but the
time.
one thing is you're gonna be able to add as many dogs as you want. So you're not gonna buy the 10 dog package, the 20 dog package. You're gonna upload whatever you want to add because there'll be some dogs that you want to put just in my yard.
Yeah.
And you're waiting for them to pop. Yep.
Yeah. And speaking of pop, there gonna be no pop-up ads, so you won't see any of that stuff.
No pop-up ads.
I know that can get pretty annoying.
Yay.
Some people pay to not get pop-up ads.
Yeah.
I hate those fun. When I try to look at a pet, if there's an ad across the dog, I'm just like, go away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even deal with it. I got an ad blocker anyway, so
It'll be a yearly subscription.
yeah, it'll be annual.
Yeah. Sweet.
All right, fellas. Well, it's 50. It's been an hour and 57. You know how it goes. So we're just gonna. So obviously, Bullypedia is where you can find you, but throw out some contact information for you too. Where can people find you if they want to link up? Because you're both obviously breeders, also.
Yep.
Give them your breeder information.
Yeah, so right now you can go to Coastal Edge Kennels, Lou Manipon. You can find me there. You'll find me at the show. I mean, feel free to stop and ask me whatever questions. I mean, there's nothing to hide here.
Cool.
And I think Sam's pretty much at the shows as well, so you can reach out to him.
Yeah, we both will be at the show in Michiana this weekend, well, on Friday. So 8 shows there at ABKC. And then on Sunday, we'll be in Romania for the Dracula show there too, also at BKC. So if you if you have questions about Bullypedia, we're there, and we should be able to have something to showcase to people so they can see for themselves on an iPad or laptop, how it's going to look. So.
Sounds good. All right, fellas, we appreciate you tuning in. And just on a quick note, since we have just a few seconds left, if you want to post shitty comments in the comments, you're going to get blocked and banned, and they don't really give a shit. All right, later, guys.
I'm sorry.
All right, see you guys.
I'm sorry.
What?